from the Silver Creek Studios for another episode of Get a Load of This. I'm Jared.
I'm Ryan, and Joe's going to sing.
No.
You filleted him.
He was ready, man. He was up on it. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I was going to come in. I was like, but no, I was thinking earlier. I was like, man, I got to come up with something because I was riding home the other day and I was listening to like off the wall rap music. Shit you guys in a million years would never listen to or
Right.
or have ever heard. Even you people out there in fucking La La Land. And I was going to start singing some of that shit because it's like criminal. It's talking about fucking...
Well, the good news is we probably wouldn't have any copyright violations because no one's ever heard of it.
Right. Well, just
The
those
people
guys.
that were, well, and they might be dead by now. Who knows?
Could be.
You know?
Could be.
So yeah, that's
You
what
know
we
what
need
I
to
did
start
listen
searching
to?
for is uncopyrighted music that I don't know.
I did listen to a little bit of that Triple X Station Temptations. The guy that got killed.
the guy that died. Yeah.
All right.
Is it good?
No, it's not good. I didn't like it at all.
Well, they made him out to be a hero, didn't they?
Well, I think cut down before his prime.
Well, sure,
yes.
sure.
I don't know. I wouldn't call him a hero.
Are they trying to make him the next Tupac? Just trying to
No.
just make
but
him a martyr?
But he did just get paid. He had just signed a $10 million contract.
Well,
He's 20 years old.
should have
I was going to say, just today I heard something
paid for
about
some security.
somebody's coming out like they know who shot Tupac now. They're allegedly either going to make an arrest or some kind
it
of
was Elvis.
formal... Yeah, it was.
It was Elvis and Chubbs from Happy Gilmore.
I thought it was rerun from
It could have
What's
been.
Happening.
It could have been. I think he drove the car.
Well,
Raj was sick that night.
Hey.
off the air, we've been talking a little bit about Ryan's car and a recent trek he made, but it kind of got us thinking about some classic cars
old
and just
car,
all
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Now it was a beautiful weekend, so yeah, I think. Well, I know Joe took his car out, and I took my car out. Did you go out on your bike?
No, I did not.
Sucker.
I know.
Yeah, it was a beautiful weekend.
Beautiful weekend.
So yeah, it was hard to keep it parked. So
Yeah.
my car is a '68 Pontiac Le Mans convertible, and Joe has
455 car.
Yeah, 455, and unfortunately an automatic, but still a cool ass car.
Yeah, mine's
and,
an automatic too.
But they're fun, and you got was your
72 Cutlass,
Yeah.
455.
Yeah. So he gets his out a lot more than I do, and if you haven't,
Both gorgeous. I've seen them both. They're both good-looking cars.
mine's only pretty because Joe made it pretty. But Joe's takes his out a lot. And
Joe just
every
leans
time I
on
hear
it and
it,
makes it pretty.
Yeah. Every time I hear him start his, I'm like, son of a, because I got a ball tournament or something I got to go to, and I'm not taking my car all the way to hell out there.
Yeah,
also, parking it next to a ball field's probably a bad
it's a
idea.
bad idea.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, that's a right up by the backstop. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Right there.
But
no,
yeah,
I like taking mine out. I enjoy it. It's I don't know. And normally I'm by myself, so it's just a little me time.
Mhm.
Put on some music, and in fact, it's got a CD player, but it's also got the auxiliary and everything. So I normally plug my phone in. I said, "Fuck it." I'm listening to the 1992 Chronic album. I put it in the CD player and
rolled out.
Just drove around listening to that. I almost listened to the whole CD too, driving around.
Yeah.
So
That's good stuff, though. I mean, for those of us that enjoy driving, I think most people, if you're driving the right car and you don't have a real destination in mind, and you're just cruising, and it's a beautiful day.
Mhm.
And again, you have to have the right car. If you're driving a shit box,
Yeah.
you're not going to enjoy driving.
well, but you'd be surprised though. The freedom of being on the open road, no matter what
Yeah.
you're doing, can be captivating no matter what you're driving.
Yeah.
I personally like to do it in a nicer car, but
yeah, we were rolling back, and we were having a fun time. I had all three boys in the car with me, and the youngest had just got done with his swim meet, and we were jamming to some Zac Brown band, not Chicken Fried, some good Zac Brown band, and we were having a great time. And then I ran out of gas
Ugh.
because my fuel gauge is on the fritz. So, and then I look like an asshat sitting on the side of the road with my 3 kids in the car.
And how close were you to the gas station?
I could
shouting distance.
I could have thrown a rock and hit the gas station. And yeah, I mean,
that's
it was
cool. And then so you were in town. Or in the town where we painted the car,
right?
And the guy's shop the
guy who owns the shop where we painted the car happened to drive by, recognized the car.
Who that was?
Yeah, and he
Nice.
stopped, and so thanks, Clay.
Yeah,
for Karen and for recognizing the car. But and he's always been a real cool guy. Every time
Clay's
I see him,
guy.
he's So he stopped. And, it's funny. He's got a Mercedes.
He's got a shit ton. He's got
a lot of cars,
a
right?
lot of cars.
But he's driving a Mercedes, and I want to say it's a. I don't know, it's a 2010 or it's a nice car. And the windows are all blacked out, and he's got his company's name. What is it? Midwest Auto Creations?
Yep.
So we'll give a shout out to Midwest Auto Creations in Redbud, Illinois. That he's got a sticker on the window for his company. And I didn't notice any of this shit. I just thought, who the hell's pulling up next to me or whatever? But anyway, he pulls away, and Chuck, he's like, who was that? And I said, that was the guy who owns a shop where I painted my car. And he goes, you think a guy that owns a shop where they paint cars would have a nicer car? That's kind of a piece of crap. I'm like, Chuck, that was a Mercedes. He goes, I don't care. I don't like it.
I don't care. I don't like. Yeah, but Chuck likes some old cars.
Yeah.
Shit, he's got a 64. I know that is in the showroom before. He's got a 64 Impala 409 car.
Yeah.
And little known
Are those
fact,
his cars that he keeps in the shop there?
Yeah.
So a lot of shops, like they'll take loaner cars or whatever, and they'll put them on display.
I think that's his. There's another one. There's like a 71 Chevelle convertible that he has on consignment that he's trying to sell.
Yeah.
And that's in his showroom. But little known fact about the 409, it's the only motor that had a song dedicated to it.
Yeah, She So Found My 409, Beach Boys.
Beach Boys. Yeah.
Well, what about the Little Deuce Coupe was a car. So
that's not a motor.
It's not a motor.
You think about it, buddy.
Hot Rod Lincoln. That's a Lincoln. That's
Hot Rod
not
Lincoln.
not an engine. All right, we have to get back to you on that one.
Well, speaking of old cars, we've kind of talked about this at different times over the last couple months of the podcast, having an episode where we discuss cars from our childhood or from TV or movies or whatever.
Before I go any further, I'm selling my Trans Am. Anybody want it? Or I was told I'm selling my Trans Am. Anybody.
You were
Anniversary edition.
Yeah,
it's a cool car actually.
Needs a little work.
Needs some work, but yeah, that's a nice car.
It's a whole car.
It's a whole car, and the motor's fresh.
Yeah.
Tranny's fresh. Rear end's fresh.
Okay, off the air. Tell me what you want for it. But, so, yeah, I kind of had my own little list either in my head. I might have written it out somewhere, but of some cars that I just remember growing up, whether it was in a movie or TV or whatever. Just stuff that was cool. It doesn't necessarily, might be unique, maybe not, but I'm sure we all had cool cars when we were a kid.
Yeah.
I had my first car was a '79 Trans Am, that's cool. Mm-hmm. But talking about cool cars, and I just seen in the news that the Bullet car, the Steve McQueen Bullet car, is going over to England to be on display for like a year.
Yeah, it was just on the cover of the Haggerty magazine that I get that's my insurance company.
Yeah.
And they have great benefits for members, but the magazine's cool, and they just featured the Bullet, car, Steve McQueen's car. That's a cool ass car.
That is a cool ass car, and I'm not a huge Mustang fan. I never was. I like Fox bodies. I'm a huge Fox body fan, but the early '60s and then, I'll go all the way up to '70. Cool cars, don't get me wrong. Fastbacks is the only way to go in my book, but just never a huge fan of them.
So enlighten our audience. What's the Fox body?
Fox body would be 79 and 93.
That's
70
your Vanilla Ice car.
Yeah, rolling. M5. Yeah, the 5.0.
Yeah.
But
so you're a huge Fox body fan, but not Mustang necessarily?
Well, those are Mustangs.
Well, right, but you like those Mustangs.
Yeah.
To me, those are the worst Mustangs.
Oh, God, no. I love those Mustangs.
It was also the Mercury. What was the Mercury equivalent?
It was
it a Tracer?
Well, it was a Fairmont. A Ford Fairmont was a Fox body.
No, was it?
Yep.
So what about the in the 80s, Mercury had an equivalent. What the hell was it called?
Capri.
Was it a Capri?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And I don't think they came with a 5.0, but you could fit one.
No, that you could get a 5.0
You could get a 5.0 Capri.
You could get a 5.0 Capri, and they were called Bubble Hatch. and the glass was bubbled in the back instead of straight. They were cool.
Yeah.
79 would have been the first year for it, which was the pace car, and for the Indianapolis 500, and not the Daytona, but the Indy. And then all the way, and then 79, 80, and 81 all looked the same. 82 looked that part, but all the 82s had the lower valance in the front, whereas you had to have like a GT or a GT, something like that. And then in 83, I had
what some people would call ground effects, but it's actually called lower valance or valance.
And then 83, 84, 85, 86 all looked the same, similar to the 79. The front ends were pretty much the same. Grills changed a little bit. 87, they went to the Euro lights, which would be
the wraparound.
Yeah, well, the where you put a bulb in the back, and it's not like a Sylvania that you go and buy.
Yeah.
The 85 was the I don't know, for whatever reason, I had a buddy whose mom had an 85 50 GT. It was white top,
and it had
red interior.
Did it have the screened headrests? The Recaro
I believe
seats.
so. Yeah.
There were Recaro seats.
But I just thought that car was the coolest
Badass.
car. He ended up wrecking it when he got his license.
And the console had a picture of the car, and it had lights.
Yeah. It would tell you where shit was broke.
Yeah, if shit was broke, you're out of gas, things like that. But it was very, very caveman-ish.
Yeah.
But
See, a funny story. That same picture of a car was that my mom had an 84 Ford EXP.
Same thing, yeah.
Not an Escort EXP, but an EXP, and it had that stupid thing, and it just showed you it was dummy lights. It was like there was no gauge. There was a
dummy light.
There was a
like
fuel gauge.
Operation looked like fucking Operation.
It was not.
Did you the EXP? It was a 5-speed, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
4-cylinder,
I think
5-speed.
They all were that way. I don't think
it didn't have a back seat. It was a 2-seater. It had just a large package tray, if you want to call it that, or just cargo bay, and
because they were hatchbacks. They all were hatchbacks.
Yeah, but even hatchbacks had back seats. A lot of them did.
Well,
but
Mustangs did. They were all hatchbacks.
Yeah,
all the Fox bodies were all hatchbacks.
This car was a turd. My dad and I would drive it. They were bad. And like every time my mom drove it every day and never complained. She just drove it. It was her car, and every time my dad would drive it, he'd find another screw or a bolt just laying on the floor, and he'd come home just pissed, and he was like, "How do you keep losing screws out of the car?"
Don't be mad at me. Be mad at Henry.
Yeah. But it was true. I mean, every time we get in the car, there would be another screw laying on the floor. It was like, where do they keep coming from? What's going to fall off of this car?
The entire the whole dash just falls in your lap. Holy shit!
I think we only had it for like 2 or 3 years, and then he got rid of it and switched to Pontiac.
A buddy of mine's
a good move.
Dad had an 89 Mustang convertible, and it was just the loudest thing. It just rattled. That whole top shook. You couldn't hear people talking inside the car. It was just ridiculous. That soft top just was terrible.
It's awesome.
I mean, I appreciate
was it
a loud
an LX
car.
or a GT or what was it?
I don't think it was a 5.0. I want to say it was an LX, but
well, you could have an LX 5.0 though.
Yeah, true. It didn't have to be a GT to be a 5.0. Yeah.
Okay.
Nope.
Well, then might have been. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe if it was that loud, it might have been. But it was just it was annoying loud, not cool loud.
I had a friend of mine that was a huge, Mark's his name, huge 5.0 Fox body fan, and then he got into later into him too. He's a chiropractor now, and I think
he can afford some.
Right, yeah. I hope he's got a shit ton of them somewhere, just enjoying them all. But he had when we were in high school, he had an 88 Mustang GT, hatchback, burgundy, beautiful car. And that was the second one. He had an 83 T-top car that was insane too, and it was built. This car was stock, and it was the scariest fucking car I've ever rode in my life. He would take turns at 6,500 RPMs doing 85 miles an hour, and that whole car would just hop and skip. And he'd just laugh, and I'd be like, we're going to fucking die.
Yeah.
It was that's why I like that car. Well, we had a lot of fun in that car.
See, I've never driven a car like that. I mean, not like that car, but never driven a car in that manner where I've just with reckless abandonment, right? Where you're just like, I'm just going to tear the shit. I'm going to drive it like I stole it. You know, I'm just, I've never, I mean, I'm too cautious, you know, whatever, but
I did when I was a kid with my Trans Am. I drove it like that because I was like, fuck it, I want to see what these things do. Well, I wrecked it numerous times.
Yeah. So what was the Trans Am from Burt Reynolds?
That was the first one was a 77.
Okay.
Y84 car. And
Y84 is the package.
Yeah, it was the package. And then in the second one, it was an 80 Turbo TA, which was a 4.9 turbo. So it was a 301 Pontiac motor with a turbo on it. And the third one should
that
never
car
be
made
watched.
There's a third one?
Yeah, there's a third
There's
Bandit.
a third one, and there's no Bandit. It's
Bandit. Yeah, no, the Bandit is Jerry Reed.
It's Jerry Reed. It's Jerry Reed and Jerry Reed's wife.
Yeah.
And Sally Field didn't even jump on that one.
No. I think Burt was in the beginning of it, declining, telling Jerry Reed, "No, brother, you're on your own.
I will not do this again." Jerry, save your money.
Well, and Jerry Reed recorded another song for that too. Yeah, and it's not a terrible song. I mean, it's no Eastbound and Down.
Eastbound and Down.
But it's all right though.
Yeah. The first Bandit is the best, and that was a 77. It might even have been a 78. The front ends look the same. The rear ends look the same. 79 is when they changed the front end and the rear end. Got more Euro, I would call it. But that's a Y84 package. And if you watch that movie, they changed that car numerous times. Sometimes the interior is black. Sometimes the interior is brown.
Well, that's the Dukes of Hazzard were famous for that too. That if you watch the Dukes of Hazzard, the TV show, close enough, you'll see like in a lot of the jumps and stunt scenes, it's a car. Doesn't even have the 01 on the side of it. It's a different car.
Well,
because they had ruined so many.
Well,
of
they
those
ruined
cars
so many. They had 68, 69, and 70. All were close enough for
that they could pass for.
Right.
Yeah.
So what was that car?
That was a 68, 69, 70 Charger. And the motor
back when Chargers had two doors.
Yeah, exactly.
Before they ruined
Chargers.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was a I think that was a 426 car that they were riding around in, or supposed to be riding around in.
Supposed to be, yeah.
But they could have been in a 383.
Now
I don't know.
for people our age, that's like one of the most classic cars.
Oh, yeah.
Doors welded shut, sliding across the hood.
Had
Who
to
didn't
climb
slide
through the
across their
window,
hood
yeah.
to try to get in their car? Yeah, climb through the window.
Yeah, I mean, I had friends in grade school that were passionate about the Dukes of Hazzard.
I was too.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I think it was just our age. It was like that was the hot thing. I mean, McDonald's had cups with Daisy Duke and Bo and Luke and Boss Hogg on them, and I think it was McDonald's, maybe Burger King. But yeah, I mean, it was was
Burger
the coolest.
Chef.
Might have been Burger Chef. But no, that was the pinnacle.
Yeah,
and I made model cars then, like the old, what was it, Revel model cars, plastic model cars, and I had the General Lee, I had Daisy's Jeep, I had Uncle Jesse's tow truck.
No, Cougar had a tow truck.
Yeah, it was Uncle Jesse's truck.
Uncle Jesse, and what did he have?
I don't know. I don't
he
remember.
had a 1977 white Ford F100.
There you go.
Nice.
No,
I think that was the beginning of my love for Jeeps too. Was Daisy's Jeep? That thing was awesome.
I wasn't looking at her Jeep.
Well, I was looking at all kinds of stuff.
Wait, she had a Jeep?
What Jeep?
That bitch just rode in the back.
Do you remember what it was?
It was a Jeep
I know.
Wrangler, but it was a
CJ
Dixie.
or
it was a CJ5, I think is what it
was. And I had to look it up, so it's not like I know this. But
damn fucking cheater.
Let's see. She had a Golden Eagle edition 1980, and
but it
apparently
said
the Golden
Dixieland on the fucking
Yeah.
It
I
said,
think it did.
I thought it said Daisy on it.
Or maybe it did say, I don't know.
I thought it just said Daisy on the sides where,
All I
where
know
it
is
usually
she had
says.
a hell of a pair of shorts.
Yeah, she
Catherine Bach.
She had some nice. She had some nice get along sticks.
Yeah.
No, the Dukes of Hazzard
Worked
was
at the Boar's
pinnacle,
Nest.
but the cars of.
But you go back even from that, I liked, when it's an ugly car, Starsky and Hutch had a fucking badass car.
Right.
70, no, my dad's was way nicer than that. That was like a 74 Grand Torino. My dad had a 70 Torino GT convertible.
Okay.
Totally, and all the people out there looking up, go look at what Starsky and Hutch drove around in. and then go look at a 70 Torino GT convertible.
You look out, it might show up on Instagram.
Yeah.
Because I'm always searching for stuff to post out there. But the thing I was going to say is that no longer in television today can a car carry a show.
No.
But you think about the shows that had Knight Rider, The Fall Guy, Dukes of Hazzard. I mean, and then movies you got.
Fall Guy, I don't think they really carried the show. Like
his truck was pretty damn
his
cool.
Truck was really cool, which was a brown.
It was a GMC.
It was a GMC Cheyenne.
Yep.
6-foot bed, 4x4. And then you look at like A-Team. We all know the van.
Yeah,
I mean, and it was awesome every time you seen it. Didn't really carry the show, but yet you knew it. You knew it.
You identified the show.
Whereas
by that
like
van. Yep.
the Dukes of Hazzard, the General Lee
was the star of the show.
Yeah, to me it was. I mean,
other than Daisy, but
other than Daisy.
Yeah.
I mean, you had some comic relief with Boss Hog and shit like that, but that fucking car ran that shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they knew they didn't have to pay anybody. As long as this fucking car keeps showing up.
That's why they brought in the Cousins in the last 2 seasons or whatever. Because like, we don't give a shit who drives the General Lee. We just need this car to jump a river every once in a while.
All we got to do is see hillbillies jumping shit, and we're fucking.
Now, did I tell you how I wasn't allowed to watch the Dukes of Hazzard at a younger age?
Doesn't surprise me one bit.
Because they were the bad guys and the cops, my parents twisted. Gosh.
But were they the bad guys, though?
Yeah.
I mean, they were
just good old boys.
Yeah, they were
well,
never.
They
were never
guys,
really meaning no harm. Beats all you ever
running
saw.
moonshine.
But they never ran moonshine.
Well, you never saw it on the show.
But they did break out of jail. But I can tell you right now, the county commissioner, Boss Hog, was running shit out of the back every week.
And he was crooked.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. The cops were the bad guys.
Yeah, the cops were the bad guys.
And the bad guys were the good guys. So, yeah, it was just my parents being strict.
Knight Rider was one that the car ran the show.
Yeah, I love Knight Rider. Even when they rebooted it like 10 years
Darth
ago.
Vader's bathroom.
Oh, when they had that.
It was a Mustang.
The Knight Rider I remember was a GT3000, a Mitsubishi GT3000.
Well, it could transform.
I think it was a Stealth, right? Dodge Stealth.
Well, it's the same car,
but
Dodge.
So this was like
dude in the early 90s. And
recently, just a couple years ago, they did it with a Mustang, but we're talking like 20 years ago, 15 years ago.
This dude,
I missed that.
It was like Lorenzo Lamas,
Oh,
but it wasn't him.
That.
It was like this fucking guy, and he had like this perfect V.
So they've rebooted Knight Rider 3 times, the original, and then there's been 2 reboots.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I missed the second one, but the first one with Hasselhoff was awesome.
Yeah,
the whole show was amazing, and then the one that they with the Mustang that was most recent, I liked that show, and it didn't last very long.
I've never even seen it.
It was good. I mean, it was Knight Rider.
Actually, maybe we're wrong. Wasn't the show just called Stealth? No. It wasn't Knight Rider. It was just Knight Rider with the Dodge Stealth.
It was with but it was with a you're right. It was with the Dodge Stealth.
But it was Knight Rider.
Mitsubishi.
It was like Knight Rider 2000 or something. Weird. But anyway,
I think you're both wrong. I think there's a little one. But whatever.
I'm telling you, look it up. This dude had I'm telling you, what was the craziest thing is he had the hairiest chest I've ever seen in my life. But it was like coiffed. It was like he had a chest cut. Like a fucking idiot.
He had a whole team of hair and makeup working on his chest hair.
Easy around the nipples, honey. That's the money spot. And he always had his shirt off, but he had this just 70s fro.
Well, few men can pull off a hairy chest like David Hasselhoff. You got to really work at that. You know?
He looked like, I don't know, that was, I guess that wasn't a hairy chest like a 70s hairy chest.
No, it wasn't porn star. It wasn't Robin Williams' hairy chest.
Well, Robin Williams was like halfway to werewolf all the time.
Half gorilla.
It was hard to notice David Hasselhoff's chest over Pamela Anderson's chest.
Right.
Half the other
fair point.
But it was easy. It was easy to look at him when Alexandria Paul was in there.
Yeah.
The 5th grade girl that would show up.
She didn't exactly have a chest worth looking at.
But she was in Christine, too.
Is that right? You're right.
She's the girl in Christine.
Speaking of great cars, what was that?
Yeah.
That was a 58 Plymouth Fury.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a pretty rare car, too. Like, there wasn't a lot of those rolling around. There's not today.
Yeah. No, they're not. It's not a desirable car. Like, you think 58. Well, 58 would have been the first year of the Impala, which was undesirable. I didn't like 58, 59s. I really got into Impalas in 1960.
But everybody thinks Chevy. In the late 50s, Chevy was running shit.
Plymouth, too.
Plymouth really didn't have a whole lot to hang their hat on. you know.
No, they didn't make their mark until the 60s when they came out with the B bodies, and you had the Roadrunners, or even
Duster.
the Darts, the Dusters, the Roadrunners, the GTX.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: the older cars, like in the 40s and then into the 50s, that had these big swooping fenders and where the hood would come over and
had the running boards that
all
were
that
all tied
stuff.
into the front fenders.
What changed? Was that too expensive to keep doing?
Hell yeah, all that steel.
Okay.
They stamping all that steel.
But I mean, they were doing it for decades, so suddenly they said, we're not going to do this anymore. Every car is going to get boxed off.
Well, look at what's happened with cars from 1960 to now. All they're doing, every iteration is just trying to make the car cheaper to manufacture.
That's what it is.
That's all it was.
So, like, you used to have on older cars, you used to have steel bumpers. That's a regulation. That's a federal regulation. But it's cheaper for them to put a rubber bumper on with foam and whatever's behind there.
You still have a steel
behind
bumper,
there, but it's not a decorative steel
It's
chrome.
utilitarian.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's all the manufacturers are just trying to make it cheaper, make it lighter, make it more efficient. They're all up against the government regulations of fuel efficiency and all this other shit. And it's really sad because
you lose the style.
You lose all the styling of these cars. I mean, like my car is, again, it's a Le Mans. It's not a GTO. So a GTO had a color matched rubber bumper. They called it an enduro bumper. And the Le Mans and the Tempest of the same year, they had a chrome bumper, and you could get a GTO that year with a enduro delete option, which gave you a chrome bumper. There was only like 50 of those made. But I prefer the chrome bumper. I prefer that big bulky chrome steel behemoth heading down the road at you. I think it looks a hell of a lot more mean and awesome than just.
I don't know. Them judges were pretty fucking tough.
The judges are cool, right? But just my preference. I like chrome. I
like chrome too.
And I think if as soon as you start color matching everything and making everything rubberized, I just don't. It doesn't appeal to me as much. So you look at cars today and they don't. I mean, they try to. They like, especially with trucks. My truck now has a big chrome front grille, but it's not the same. They've compromised the design of cars, and what was the Prowler? The Plymouth went with that was like an old roadster look.
Yeah, the old open wheel look.
PT Cruiser, which is an ugly ass car. It's not a, it's probably one of the, it's at the time when it came out,
it was neat.
Everybody thought like,
look.
oh my God, this thing is it.
This
It's
the 40s rebirth.
Yep. It's going to be a collector, but it didn't, and it lasted for a while, but it never got adopted widespread. But
oh, I don't know. There's still people out there that are still PT Cruiser people.
Yeah, really?
And go to car shows, man.
Really?
There's a bunch of them on the road, but
I've usually got a bunch of stickers on them.
Was the saturation of the market is what happened with that, and then they just turned into, the Prowler. Shit, when the Prowler came out, it was actually a cheap car, and it started going for double the price because of the supply and demand.
Yeah,
right.
I think people got irritated that it wasn't the performer that it looked like it should have been.
Well, hell no.
What did it have in it?
I think a 6-cylinder.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't anything. And so then Chevy came out more recently with the SSR.
And the HHR too.
Well, the HHR was a
truck.
That's a homo hot rod. No, it's the PT Cruiser. They seen Chrysler making all that money off the PT Cruiser,
right?
So they wanted to basically do a panel van.
So which one's the truck? The SSR.
SSR.
Okay, and the HHR is the panel van,
right? Yeah. And so the SSR came out, and initially it was going to look like the 50s pickup truck, similar, but then it was a convertible, and you'd have all these features. 5.7 when they had a 6-liter in them too, badass ride,
right?
But they just didn't have the character lines of that, so you would have to go back to that.
Well, then 08 happened and GM took a shit and they needed a government bailout, and they've abandoned all those special projects, and then that's why Pontiac died and Buick and Oldsmobile, not Buick, Hummer, Oldsmobile. Pontiac. Who else died? Buick's still around.
Saturn.
Yeah, it's a shame. That's what's really probably most disappointing to me is all of the badges that have gone by. Even Plymouth is gone.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
the problem I had with them though is that all those badges became just a badge. It was just a badging of a Chevy or whatever. There was very little to differentiate the two.
But they all had their
of what?
Of the base. There was the Chevrolet. and then the Buick version of whatever it was, and the
you had a Chevy
Oldsmobile
Cavalier and a
version,
Buick
and
Skylark.
a Pontiac was
And even back in the
honestly,
60s.
though, if you would have got in those cars, you would have seen the difference.
well.
But they
I
were
mean,
all
there were differences, but
basically the same car.
really similar.
You look at a '69 Pontiac Le Mans; it's kind of the same as a Chevelle
Right.
and a
yeah,
Cutlass.
I mean, it's always kind of been that way.
Well, I guess, yes. To me, no.
right. Well, because
I
you're
see-
paying attention to the finer
Right,
details.
Right. So the interiors were way better in the Buicks.
Sure, but a Pontiac and an Oldsmobile, an Alero and a Grand Am was the same damn car essentially.
Right.
Essentially.
Actually, it was a Grand Prix and Alero, I think. Were the same.
No, it was,
Was it Grand Am?
Am.
What was the Grand Prix equivalent?
But to
Oldsmobile.
Oldsmobile, they didn't have one.
I don't think they had.
Look at that. See, you already
Yeah,
refuted your point
see?
there.
That's my point. You're right. Like a Buick was definitely nicer than a Chevrolet, but it was that middle ground that was like, why do you even have Oldsmobile and Pontiac? They're almost the same. Granted,
because they
Oldsmobile had the
actually
bigger vehicles. You know
because they were different cars. I mean, they were.
But
Okay,
they
like-
weren't.
There were different
I mean,
markets,
it's the same
so it was different
frame,
option
same
sets.
engine,
Well,
almost the same packages.
But the
Just had
style
a-
lines were different.
Yeah,
completely
I mean,
different.
Well, completely.
Well, there's a
I don't know
reason
if I'd say
why
completely.
I have a '68 Pontiac and not a '68 Oldsmobile, because the Oldsmobile and the Chevelle are today.
I don't like them.
Well, I'm not as much of a fan as a Chevelle as I like the Oldsmobiles.
I don't like a 68 though.
You're right. I'm a 70,
70,
71, yeah.
Mhm.
But they're more sought after than a
Yeah.
Pontiac. And it's because of the various stylings, and
Right.
it's just
I'm
what's
not
become-
saying
just
they're
the fact
exactly
that you
the
could have
same.
the SS. Chevy had SS, and
Right.
that's it. No one
But-
else. The only thing, like, okay, so you had SS with
but
Chevy.
they were essentially the same car, though. I mean,
Yeah.
They were. I mean, yeah. I mean, in a sense that, yeah, they are, but they aren't. I see. I
Right, I
can't.
know what you're saying, Joe.
I won't say
Yeah.
that they're the same car because I just don't.
but you could you take a door
Nope.
off of a 70 Chevelle and put it onto a 70 Cutlass?
No.
You couldn't?
Nope.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. I thought you could.
Mm-mm.
I guess I think of in the modern time, right before they went under, was like the Saturn View and the Pontiac Solstice. I mean, they were different. One had much
Slightly,
rounder
yeah.
lines, and the other was the Saturn was more angular.
Yeah.
But it's the same car, right? I mean,
Right.
it's basically
Essentially,
the
Well,
same
yeah,
car.
it's a wheelbase and all that stuff. But
Right.
okay, so you go back. You take your door and you take my door
Mm-hmm.
on your both A bodies.
Well, they're 3 years difference.
68 to 72 is the
Four-
exact
4
same.
years
You go
difference.
and order anything, 68 to 72, they will tell you same
Same shit.
same pressings.
Right.
You have vent mirrors. I don't.
That's true.
But
fair
see,
enough.
I mean, you get into
Yeah.
like
little shit. That's
But
what
see,
it was.
that's what-
That's
that's
what it
what
was.
it
That's what
was.
GM was
That's what
doing.
made
Is
it.
that
Right.
they were tweaking it just enough that it was a different car that they weren't competing against themselves.
But that's what I'm saying. Where
but they
it
were
wasn't
trying
a
to
big
just-
shame.
they
to
were
me
trying to
when
hit
a couple
every
of these
market.
brands went away.
Yeah, but
a Ford Crown Vic and a Mercury Grand Marquis, same fucking
Well,
car.
but to
Who
go-
But a
cares?
Mercury Grand Marquis was a lot nicer inside.
a lot nicer.
To go back
Really?
to
Yeah,
the
a
point
lot
of
nicer.
why we lost
know.
these badges. So, yeah, on the grand scheme, yes, they were mimicking each other. But you lose Pontiac, you lose the Firebird.
For sure.
You lose the Grand Prix. You lose the GTO. If it did make a resurgence. It wasn't a great rendition of it, but
that was a big one to lose. A
when
lot
you-
of iconic.
when you lose
models.
Oldsmobile, you lose the Cutlass, you lose the 88, you lose and they could bring back these cars
The
and restyle
98,
the
yeah.
98. You could restyle these cars to make them very appealing, to model them like Ford's done with the Mustang, like Chevy's done with the Camaro, like Chrysler or Mopar's done with the Challenger and the Charger. You could bring back these badges and really hit a market.
What's
I think.
this talk now that is it Ford that's allegedly getting rid of a bunch of their models?
Yeah, they are, and
They're not going to have any cars after next, or maybe they'll only have one car.
the Mustang.
But they don't even
I mean, they're
badge
gonna-
that as a Ford.
They're not going to keep the Focus or
No, that's all going away.
All of it's going away. Yeah.
In the States.
So-
in Australia, they'll still have
Yeah,
it, though.
but the Mustang you're right. Mustang will be the only car. But if you notice,
just branded a Mustang, it won't be a Ford. Or something?
for years now, it has never had the blue oval on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
the
just got the
Mustang.
Mustang on it. So they've kind of created this own little badge for the Mustang.
Opal.
So Taurus and Focus and Fiesta and
Which that's a shame.
Gone.
That's a shame because the Taurus, a lot of people say, oh, it's a dad car or whatever. But the Taurus show and some of those 90s, 80s Tauruses.
yeah.
The new ones.
Well,
The
and even the
pretty
Thunderbirds,
badass.
the Thunderbird Super Coupes from the late 80s, 90s, those were badass cars.
The
those were cool
02,
cars.
the ones that go back, that go retro, the 2-seater.
Oh, yeah. Those Thunderbirds.
Those are nice cars.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though. I remember getting in one of those Thunderbirds when they brought them back. Gorgeous, waiting list to get one. I sat down in one, and when I was in college, I
Instantly got a boner.
worked at
didn't
a
you?
Ford dealer in college. No, it's the same exact dash as the Lincoln LS. I mean,
Really?
it's exactly the same, and it pissed me off when I sat in there. I was just like, "What the fuck? I've seen this dash before.
Right,
This is supposed to be an iconic,
Tweak it a little
classic
bit.
car."
Yeah.
It pissed me off.
Yeah.
But anyway.
The only thing I like for the Thunderbirds of any year, anything, early 60s Thunderbird bucket seats are gorgeous.
Yeah.
And they're low back, tons of chrome. People take them out of them cars all the time because they're undesirable cars. They gut them. They take the interiors and put them in other things.
See, I think, and I have a weird reason why, but there's not a lot of Thunderbirds. Maybe the early 80s when they were real boxy, but even like the late 70s, which a lot of people call them Thunder Chickens. But the Thunderbird, the 78 Thunderbird was my uncle's car.
The long hoods.
Yeah, the long hoods. I liked them. I don't know why.
They're all right.
I actually owned one for a while. My great uncle gave me when he stopped driving. He couldn't drive anymore. He gave me a 70. It was a 77 Thunderbird. It was brown. It only had like 20,000 miles on it, and that was in 1994. So it was a.
Yeah, I had friends of mine that had them, and I had a friend of mine that had one and fucking threw a rod and went through the hood.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
Yeah. Piles
Do you
of
guys
shit.
get into this the modern muscle cars? So the new Challenger, the new Camaro,
I got
the new-
into them when I
kind
was
of the
working
retro styling.
when I was working at the Chrysler dealership because you'd see them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they're badass. Don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
And I can tell you
Sure.
right now, ain't nothing touching them Hellcats or them demons.
Right.
There ain't nothing out there right now.
Tesla.
I would put a fucking demon up against a Tesla.
They've
don't
done
know.
it. They've done it. We'll
Yeah.
show you the video after we
Tesla
hit stop
smoking,
here.
But
'cause
you're right. Yeah,
It's
they're
crazy
awesome.
what these Teslas can do. But you're right. I mean, the Hellcat, the Demon, the what's the ZR? What's the Chevy motor?
ZL1.
ZL1. I mean, yeah, there's some badass
Yeah,
engines
they're
out there.
1,000
Yeah.
horsepower engines
Yeah,
now.
they're-
And these assholes are going to pick up groceries. Oh, I'm going to the fucking store, drop the kids off, in a red key Hellcat. Are you
Yeah.
fucking kidding me? This is stupid. It's
So what's
stupid.
Red Key mean?
So when you buy a Hellcat, you get 3 keys.
Mhm.
The red key is performance.
Okay.
So when you get in and you have that fob,
Mhm.
the car recognizes we're in performance mode, and you get all the horsepower.
So-
707.
So you bring that key, the car knows like, oh shit, this dude means business. We're
Right.
going to have fun today.
So normally you just ride around with 505 with the other 2 keys.
okay,
505 horsepower is their downgrade version.
that's their cruiser going
Yeah.
to get groceries.
And then when you get in with the red key, I think it's a blue, a black, and a red. I think is how they go. Anyhow, red key, I know the red key, and that's 707, and that's factory, and that's not. And now these guys are going and making those cars into 11 and 1,200 horsepower cars.
That's
Mhm.
I
ridiculous.
mean, you're gonna fly. You can fly with that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
put wings on the damn thing and see what happens.
It's cool though.
It is cool.
I get into. I like
I don't know
the
if it's worth
resurgence.
$100,000, but it's
No,
pretty cool.
well, but everything is it's all relative. You
Yeah.
know, the
Right.
guys back in the day that were building these big, V8s and shit back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, they were spending money equivalent to that.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, but that's kind of why I dig the. I don't like looking at them as much, but the rat rod, the whole sleeper kind of car, right?
I buy into a sleeper. I've always been a fan. If there's one sleeper that I would ever own, it's a 1985 Dodge Omni GLH.
the hell was in that?
Yeah, it was a turbocharged
I
4-cylinder.
can picture the Omni, but not
Yeah.
GLH.
It just had ground effects. It was nicer, but it's an Omni. It's a Dodge Omni.
Mhm.
Tie a yellow ribbon round a Dodge Omni. But it ran 11.6s from the factory in 1985.
Mhm.
Wow,
That's insane.
that is.
Well, I can tell you right now. So Gateway, the racetrack here, you have to have a cage at 12 seconds. So that car would need a roll cage
in order
from the factory to run.
That's crazy.
And that was in 19. And it's a fucking Dodge Omni. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That was a ugliest car, but what a sleeper.
Right.
That's the definition of a sleeper.
I tell you guys about that show that I watched. Like, it's called Fastest Car or something like that. It's on Netflix.
No, you normally tell me about the shows where it's like gorillas fucking foxes.
Well,
I think you mentioned it on the
too.
Tesla episode.
Yeah, maybe I did.
Yeah.
But it's a great show. I've watched every episode, but they take 4 cars every episode. 3 of them are sleepers. 1 is a supercar. And they see who wins. And at the end, the final episode is all of the winners of all the episodes. They race side by side in a quarter-mile race out in the desert, out in like the salt flats or something like that. And it's cool. It's really neat to see some of these cars, these monsters that folks have made. Some guys they've got this engine that's just sitting in another car that they're like, oh, I'm saving that engine for this. And then this thing comes up and they're like, all right, well, I got this.
Put it in this.
Yeah, and the guy had like an LTD or something like that, and he's like, well, I'll just drop it in here, and then, of course, everything else, the wheels, the tires, the suspension, everything else is also tuned. But the exterior, I mean, looks like complete crap. And
it looks like an 80s cab, an Aries K.
Yeah, right.
Well, you were talking about 85 Omni, and I think we mentioned an 85 something else earlier. Anyway,
Mercury Capri, I think. Yeah.
A guy I work with, a friend of mine, has an 85 Corvette, and
I'm sorry,
it's a great car. I love the 85.
That was 85 was the introduction into tune port injection. It's when GM got away from the Crossfire because they ran Crossfire 82, 83, and then in 1983 there is no Corvette.
Right.
So in 84. They had the throttle body, and they started bringing in the tune port, which was great at the time, but looking back, that it was infancy.
It wasn't perfect.
No, not even close.
Right.
I mean, well, Crossfire was supposed to be great, but Crossfire never lasted either. It was terrible. And
I think for the layman, though, for just your average guy, not a car guy, or maybe he someone who, likes cars but doesn't know like you do, Joe, that pretty much any Corvette you see, if it is well cared for, it's
that's
a head turner.
That's the respect of someone taking care of their shit.
Right.
I have much respect for people that, you can bring a fucking 81 AMC Eagle out. If you really have you got the houndstooth seats and all that shit in there, and you've really done it right, ugly car. Probably shouldn't have brought it. But,
kudos to you, but for keeping it up.
Well, this guy got it. He was a second owner, but he got an 87, so he's pretty much had it the whole time, and it's kept it in good shape. He has replaced the motor. It's black leather interior. He did get a crate motor in it, so it went from I think the stock 225 horsepower to like 430 or something crazy now. But he's kept it, he's still got the original wheels on it.
Probably still did. He still went with a 350 though.
I think so, but I
sure
can't remember. Yeah, I'd have to ask him about it. But it looks nice, and I appreciate that he hasn't butchered it over the last 30 years,
which is easy to do with cars.
Hopefully he kept the other block though, the other engine. I would imagine
he could have. Well, I don't know.
Probably, but I don't know.
You get those crate motors, they need a core.
Okay.
So he might not have.
Yeah.
It wouldn't matter in that car.
You don't think so? No. Numbers matching doesn't mean shit?
Not if it's preserved well.
That's probably what someone said about my car in 1976. They're like, numbers matching is not going to matter on this car. But now it does, and I don't know where that motor is.
Well, yeah, but it doesn't matter on that car anyhow because there's so much altered on that car.
Right.
Regardless, numbers matching don't mean shit.
Right. At this point, it's all.
Right. Yeah. So now you just have a nice car.
Right.
So,
but honestly, like I said, at that, what is it, STL Classic Cars or whatever, most of those weren't numbers matching, and they were still $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 cars. The numbers matching ones were $100,000.
Yeah, numbers matching, it's a neat thing. Don't get me wrong. My father is a huge fan of numbers matching. He's that's what he does.
Is the Galaxy?
It's a numbers matching drivetrain.
Okay.
It's a P code numbers matching drivetrain.
So that means engine, transmission, everything, all the way down.
Yeah, all that is all numbers matching. The body is not. I put floors in it. I put quarters on it. I mean,
right, but that doesn't matter as much.
No, it doesn't. But he changed the color.
Yeah.
I think that car originally was green.
Hmm.
And then when he bought it, it was red, and now it's Guardsman blue.
What was your Cutlass originally, the color of it?
Fuck, I don't even know. I think it was blue.
Yeah. Mine was Verdoro green.
I think it was blue only because I see hints of it. I know I need to have the armrest redone, and I was going to take it. There's a new place in Columbia, High Tech, and I know the guys, and they're good people. So if you have interior work or anything like that or tent work.
That's who did my roof on my Pontiac.
High Tech?
Yeah.
Well, now there's new people in there. That I know that guy, and he was a good guy too.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have to buy a new frame.
Right.
I mean, he was able to make what I had, which had problems.
Bruce was his name.
Yeah,
Bruce,
he made it
I
work.
like Bruce. Bruce was a nice guy. I liked him, but he sold that company to another group of people. And I know the guy who owns its son. His name's Dylan, and they do good work there. So yeah. So anybody listening,
that happens to be in the Midwest St. Louis metropolitan area.
Yeah.
If you're in Sweden,
well,
just ship it over. We'll take care of it for you. If it's a cool car, we'll
yeah, they do good work.
We'll send it back.
Well, we better wrap it up. We've bored people enough with our car talk.
I don't know, have we?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe.
People get into it, but
They do, yeah.
they probably get into wieners, wieners.
Well,
But
let
tell
us
us
know.
about your car. Tell us
Yeah.
about what or what your dream car is, or what's
Mhm.
your favorite car from the 70s or 80s or 90s or today.
How can they get a hold of us?
They can. They
I'm going to go ahead and give my phone number.
Yeah, they
out
can
on
call
the air.
Joe, or they could hit us up on social media at Load This Podcast on Instagram, Twitter. We really need to start remembering to do this shit at the beginning.
Mm-hmm, I know.
Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
What, you got a frog in your
I
pocket?
know. I got to work on this. I got to.
I'm supposed to come up with fucking songs. You got to do all the work.
Yeah. Or send us an email, loadthispodcast@gmail.com. Check us out on YouTube. Get a load of this podcast. And make sure you like us, rate us, all that good stuff on iTunes and all the other apps. Google Play, Stitcher.
You might be able to find us on our newest app, Fuck a Farmer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
So-
we're trying some new things. We're trying to branch out.
We're trying to branch
Yeah.
out. It's a derivative from
Farmers Only.
Farmers Only.
Yeah.
And then they wanted to hop on the whole Tinder thing,
Right. Yeah.
but they wanted to go ahead and get the subtleties out of the way.
Yeah. And then there's an offshoot of that is just fuck livestock.
Yeah. Yeah, these boots are made for holding sheep.
Yeah, and I hear up in Chicago they got a website called Fuck a Cub.
Yeah, fuck a cub.
Nice.
Yeah, how'd that doubleheader go for them guys last week? I forgot I even said that stupid shit. But you know what it was? It's what they deserve. It's what they have coming to them.
Yeah.
And the Cards are taking on the
White
Sox.
The White Sox.
The White Sox. Man, they were talking about it today, and we won't get too much into this, but that's an abysmal fucking team.
Yeah. Well, they won a championship, less than
05.
10 years ago?
05.
Also,
Yeah,
13 years
13.
ago.
Yep.
But still, I mean, they got a
Ozzie Guillem.
championship more recently than a lot of clubs, but they just,
Here's a fun fact for you. Since 1901, they've been in the playoffs 9 times.
the Sox.
The Sox. Since 2000, the Cardinals have been in the playoffs 12 times.
There you go.
So take that, Chicago.
But we're in a big drought. Fucking Cardinals got to
This is
turn it
not
around.
a big drought.
This is a big drought.
No, it's not, man. Do you remember
I do.
The 90s?
The 90s. That's
We're-
exactly what this is the
We're
90s,
getting
though.
back to it. Can't
Yeah,
you feel it?
we are.
But
We're there again.
Ebbs and flows, man. Ebbs
Man,
and flows.
fuck
You got to
that.
rebuild
Ebbs
every
and
once in a
flows.
while. The Yankees have droughts too.
I'll say this, though.
It's just a part of the game.
83 and 79 in 06. 83 and 79 we were.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right.
yeah.
In
Anything
06.
can happen.
And
Yeah.
11, they didn't have a great record in 11.
Yeah,
either,
04
huh?
they had their best record
Which
ever.
was 105.
Yeah,
They had
and-
105 wins.
and
And
they
they get swept.
laid an egg against the
Fuck
Sox.
the Red
the
Sox.
Red Sox.
You know what, Tony? Just come back for a half year.
Yeah, we got an opening. I think soon.
Yeah, we
Soon.
will.
Telling you.
Yeah,
Or hire us 3.
Hashtag fire Matheny.
yeah. Well, we need a manager, and what comes with that manager is a has-been catcher. And I say throw the gear on Matheny. I mean, if he's under contract, fucking put a
true.
mitt on his hand. Let's see what he could do.
Yeah,
Oh,
Matheny-
I don't think
or,
this.
Molina
I don't
needs a
think
day
this
off.
is a Major League 2. Dorn.
All right,
Damn it,
well,
Dorn.
as
What's this
Ryan
old
already
lady
alluded
shit?
to, fuck the Cubs.
Fuck the Cubs.
Yep.
Until next time, I'm Jared,
I'm Ryan. This is Joe.
and get a load of this.
where it's at.
So we're loading up here.
Yeah, I gotta get a beer. I got a beer. I have a half one. Oh, I better get two.
It's just right over there, man.
Is this our beer of the week? Starting with Bud Light.
Why not?
Oh, it's either this or Jack Daniels.
he's on house arrest.
I drink Jack all weekend, and I got home from doing silly shit and started fucking pounding them. Oh, and I was so pissed, dude. I was fucking like livid, screaming pissed because Live PD was on hiatus.
Yeah, I'm pissed because I can't get Live PD and I can't even get the A&E app. I need to like steal your username for Charter in order to be able to log into A&E's app to watch Live PD. It really pisses me off.
I absolutely love that show. Now this week it's back new.
Yeah. I got drunk pretty much by myself on
Friday night.
On Friday night, and you weren't home.
No, I was home, but I was shit was going
you.
on.
Yeah. So I'm out there by myself, and I'm listening to Jimmy Buffett, and sings a song about Uncle Billy taking them on the Pascagoula run. So I texted my sister because she's the only person I thought would be up, and I said, just realized I'm kind of bummed I don't have a nephew. Get to work on that, would you? I said, also kind of drunk, so don't take me too seriously. And I said,
sorry, it's done.
I sent her a picture of my fire. I said, hell of a fire, though. I'm kind of awesome like that. Also realize that you're not going to see this till tomorrow. So sad that I'm talking to myself. Let's see. I'm one hell of a conversationalist, though, so I'll be all right. Got a lot of shit to work through. Talking about it, just all in my head. She's not responding to me. I know she's sleeping. And I said, conversationalist is a crazy long word. Fuck, I'm kind of smart. It's a lot shorter when you say it, but spelled out, it looks like I should be in Mensa or some shit. I said, all right.
Mensa?
I said, all right.
Mensa.
All right, good night, or good morning, I suppose. Peace out, my nigga. These are words that are suggested when I type nigga in my phone. Niggardly, niggard, nig. I thought that was interesting. What is niggardly? Ponder that for a moment. And then I sent her a screenshot of it, and niggardly means not generous or stingy.
Jeez, your phone is racist.
Yeah. Hell? And then
I would call that miserly.
Another one is in a stingy or meager manner. But the word is niggardly. And I'm guessing that word's not safe to use in conversation. That was the end of my ranting to my sister.
Or on a podcast.